All right, well, unfortunately, as much of a bummer as this is, the time has come. We are selling my dream truck. This is a truck I've wanted for so long. I put these trucks on a pedestal. I always wanted one. I finally decided to buy one. I've put less than 10,000 miles on it, and we're selling it for good cause. If you didn't see a couple videos back, basically the truck broke down on us 9.5 hours from home. We had a failure. You know, it being under warranty, we kind of had our hands tied behind our back. We have a trailer full of tools. You know, we have parts, we have just about everything we need to work on anything in that trailer, but we couldn't do anything. We had our hands tied because if we were to touch it and get in there too much, we could give the manufacturer cause to say, we're not gonna warranty this because someone was in here doing things. So we kind of had to just let it be and wait for a tow. And that was the moment where I realized maybe this wasn't such a good idea, this whole new truck warranty situation, because now we're kind of just stuck waiting for a tow to get it to the dealer, and then who knows what's going to happen there. And we had a not so great experience. Fortunately, the dealer has reached out. They've been really cool about it. They've gone out of their way to try to make the whole situation right. But regardless of any of that, it taught me a valuable lesson that this is not worth it, because this failure that happened to me is actually incredibly common. This is a very common failure, and it's something I didn't even realize, which is disappointing for myself because I normally look into any vehicle I'm gonna buy. I try to find any of the common problems. And now, don't get me wrong, any vehicle you buy that exists on this planet has some common major problems. They all do. So that's just something you have to deal with. But this is a big skeleton in the closet for these trucks that I didn't know about. Again, I put them on a pedestal. I thought they were the bee's knees. You know, they make way more power than their competitors. They're super comfortable. They're nice. You know, they tick all the boxes. And I didn't even bother to look into them because I knew the 2011 to 2014s had issues, and you stay away from those and you're good to go. But that is not the case. So these trucks use a CP4 fuel pump, and these pumps, as it turns out, are very, very commonly known for having failures. I mean, this is a huge thing. They fail very, very frequently. And the problem is when they fail, it's not just the pump that you have to replace. So if you're unfamiliar with diesels, the way they work is you have a lift pump that brings the fuel from the tank up to the engine, and then it goes into the high pressure fuel pump, the injection pump. And then that pumps the fuel to the injectors at very, very high pressure. I mean, we're talking over 20,000 PSI of fuel pressure. So that is a very, very crucial, important role in the fuel system. Now, what happens is when they fail, they grenade themselves, and then they send shrapnel through your entire fuel system. You get shrapnel in your injectors, which are very, very precise components. You know, a grain of sand can clog up one of these injectors. So you imagine you send a bunch of metal into them, they're toast. But on top of that, those are just the big ticket items. Everything else gets covered in shrapnel. So now you've got to replace the lines, the tank, the filter assemblies, the pump, the injectors. You have to replace everything. Because if you were to just do the pump and the injectors, the parts that have failed, you start the truck up and then you send that shrapnel right back through the system, then they fail all over again. It's the same thing you have to do if you rod knock an engine and you send bearing material and all of that stuff throughout the oil system. You've got to replace the cooler, the lines, the filter housing, all of that stuff, because otherwise that shrapnel is just going to travel right back through your new engine. So it becomes a very expensive repair, $10,000 to $15,000 depending. In our case, that's what happened, and it was an $11,000 repair to replace all of that stuff. Now, that in and of itself wouldn't be that big of a deal. Again, every vehicle has their common problems, but the problem is the fact that even if you have a warranty, it's actually pretty unlikely, as it seems from all the stories I've heard and from looking into this further, that you will get it covered under warranty. And the reason for that is Ford banks on finding some sort of contamination in your diesel and saying you had contaminated diesel, you had water in your diesel, and that's what caused the pump to fail. Now, diesel is prone to collecting moisture. That's why diesel trucks and diesels in general have water separators to get the water out of the diesel. This is very common. This is a known thing. I mean, I've seen Cummins trucks that literally drain the water separator, and I mean, it's a water bottle full of water in there. So this is not new, but what they do is they just say, hey, you got contaminated diesel, that's what ruined the pump, it's on you, you've got to replace it. And then the customer gets stuck with the bill, and that's really the most disappointing part. Now, we did get ours covered under warranty, but I think in that case we were lucky. It seems like most people don't get it covered. If they find any bit of some minute amount of contamination in your diesel, they just are able to blame that and pass the buck on to the customer. And that's really the most disappointing thing here, and the biggest thing that's turned me off and made me decide to sell the truck, because there are solutions to kind of prevent this from happening. You can do a disaster prevention kit, which is basically just a filter that goes between the high pressure fuel pump and the rest of the fuel system. So when it does grenade itself, it catches all the shrapnel, and then you just have to replace the pump. But if you were to put one of those on, if I were to put that on my truck, I would guaranteed void the warranty on any future warranty issues, and probably even, the completely unrelated stuff. Like, let's say the transmission went out. Well, you modified your truck, you put this thing on here, which is meant, to help the truck, but it's aftermarket, so your warranty is voided. I think they're coming out with a pump swap to go to like a CP3 or a different style pump. But again, same thing, it's gonna void the warranty. So I'm gonna have to do preventative measures, which means I'm gonna void my warranty, which means what's the point of having the truck if it's not under warranty? These things come with a 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. I did buy it used because at the time you just could not find new trucks. It was gonna be months before you could even order a new truck, so I had to settle for a used truck, but it came with a 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. I never thought I'd have a car with warranty, so I always thought they were great, but now that I've had one, not as great as I thought. In this situation, we would have been better off having a truck that wasn't covered under warranty and just trying to fix it ourselves. At a minimum, it would have saved us time, and that's kind of what I've realized. It was just all a very eye-opening experience for me. Again, I put these trucks on pedestals and thought they could do no wrong. I learned that that was not the case, and I had these kind of delusions about what a warranty was going to be like if I ever had to use it. I didn't think I would have to use it. And all of that has kind of changed my whole perception. And I mean, that's life, with cars. 5 years ago, I'd tell you this car was the best drift car you could get if you wanted a car for X, Y, and Z. And now I might tell you something totally different. That's not because I was lying then. I've just learned new information from then to now. And it's the same thing with these trucks. My opinion has changed over time, and I've tried just about everything at this point. I think I've got my focus pretty narrowed on what is ideal for me in my situation. And I think that's what we're gonna do. And luckily we have an out. We are able to sell the truck. The dealer that it's at is willing to buy it from us, which saves us the headache of having to get it back here. So we're just gonna go ahead and sell it to them. Now, we do still have to make the trip to Louisiana because we've got to take Chris his truck back. He let us borrow his truck. He was a viewer, someone I only knew from the internet, and he reached out and offered his truck, no questions asked. And he's the silver lining of that whole experience was, what a great guy to do that. I don't like using and borrowing people's stuff, but we were stuck and we had no other options. We couldn't rent a truck that would work with the trailer. This was our only way of getting my trailer and all the stuff and ourselves home. I can't say thank you enough to Chris. And, for those of you who watched that and wanted to meet Chris, you're going to get to meet Chris. I've got some stuff for him. We're going to bring him his truck back. We're going to go sell my truck, see it one last time, take one more good look at it, get my last bit of stuff out of it, and then we're going to fly home. So we've got a pretty big trip ahead of us. So I'm going to quit jibber jabber and get ready to hit the road. So we hit the road and started off our journey on some back roads. I prefer to take this kind of a route if I have the option to do back roads. I usually like to when I can. It's just a more enjoyable drive, and we're still gonna end up on highways for most of the trip, so might as well enjoy some sights and scenes of the back roads before we have to get stuck in on the major highways where everything looks the same for hours on end. So once we made it over to the highway, we've basically got to head north up to I-10 and then take I-10 all the way to our destination, more or less. So I decided that I was going to stop midway through. I was going to break this trip up into 2 days. Now, the reason is not the drive distance. I've knocked out 18, 20 plus hour drives in one stint, but it's the time we need to be there. We need to be there at the dealer midday. Then we've got an hour trek back to Chris, and then we've got to get to the airport by about 4:30. So the only way to get there in time would have been to leave at around 3 in the morning from my house. So I decided it was easier to just split the trip up. I left my house at around 4:30, drove till around 10 o'clock. We also gained an hour on the way. Got a hotel near where we used to compete at, near Clutch Kickers. It's an area I'm familiar with. I know there's a bunch of hotels, a bunch of food, so I decided to stop there. It's a good point where we've only got about 3 hours of the trip left in the morning, so we're leaving ourselves some buffer zone for traffic or any unforeseen events to happen. So we start heading back west. You're going through Florida for a while, and then you start getting into all the other states. We did stop at Buc-ee's. Now, lately, I don't know if it's a new thing, but Buc-ee's just seems so packed. No matter which one I stop at, no matter what time of day, what day of the week, it is just chaos. Everyone's zigzagging in different directions, but yet I still stop there. So who am I to judge? But you definitely see some interesting sights on these road trips. It's got some cars in tow, probably coming back from the auction. This is an interesting trip for me because we're in a truck, but we're not towing a trailer. So we're getting much better fuel economy. We've got to stop less. That's nice, but definitely just not my normal. But after all that, we made it into Louisiana, and where this all started. All right, this is where it happened. This is where we got the reduced engine power on the dash. I saw a rest area 1 mile. We had this bridge to get up. The truck started slowing down. It was probably a touch further back, and around here the truck was going probably 65. And I was like, man, we got to get up this bridge. It's not that long, but so yeah, we came over this, and then we obviously went right over there, like 4 spots in is when the truck broke, and it shut off pulling into the spot. There she is. The old girl. Oh man, I'm gonna miss this thing. One last sit. Oh, and the comfy seats. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have sat in it. Oh, jumper cables. Forgot about these. Ah, last time. Sad day. Alright, well, that's it. I've got to say I'm a little more conflicted than I thought I'd be. I mean, it's just a normal truck. It's bone stock. It's not like there's anything special done to it. It's not like I've changed anything major, but it was my dream truck. You know, I wanted one of those trucks for such a long time, and I finally got it, and it was, performance-wise, everything I hoped it would be. You know, hop in, press the button and go. So much power. You can just cruise no matter what hill, speed, traffic situation. It will be missed. It will be missed, but you know, we learned a lesson with it. Anyway, I'm gonna hit the road back over to Chris. Got a little care package for him. Got all my stuff out of the truck. I'm just gonna give him all the stuff, straps and stuff. Yeah, we got about an hour drive, and we got a flight here in 3 hours, so we got some time. So we had to backtrack about an hour to get to the area where Chris lives and where the airport we're flying out of is. I wanted to stop one last time close by to his house to top this thing off with diesel so it's as full of a tank as possible. And then we hung out a little bit and made our way over to the airport. All right, we are at the airport. Journey almost concluded. Here's Chris for everyone who saw the last video, the hero of the day, week, month. How long has it been? It's been like a week and a half, right?
A week or so.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes.
You are, how big of a deal this was for us to get home and get our trailer home. You're the hero. Oh, but yeah, so we got you a merch pack back here. And then, like I said, I got you some stuff out of the truck because I figured I'm sure you could put it to use.
Yeah.
Got some straps, some nice jumper cables. I might have to get some new ones. They're like the nice, like heavy gauge ones.
Tracking your shit.
Yeah, might as well, right? I should have grabbed my hitch. You probably have a hitch, though. I had a nice drop hitch. I left it on the truck.
Oh, yeah. No, mine got jacked.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Damn, it has a lock and everything, too. Got my stuff. All right, well, we made it back from Florida. Fortunately, pretty uneventful trip overall. The flight back was actually really smooth. I flew from a small airport to a small airport, 2 airports I've never flown through before, and it was such a nice change of pace. You know, security, there was literally nobody in front of me. I just walked right through, no line. It was great. I was in there probably 5 minutes to get through security. So pretty smooth trip overall. And we are now officially two trucks lighter. Chris's truck is returned back home, and the 2020 Super Duty is officially sold. It's, again, a bittersweet thing. I wanted one of those trucks for so long. I finally decided to do it, and here we are selling it after not really having it for very long, a year and 10,000 miles. So it's a bummer, but it's, again, a lesson learned. We're always learning. It's part of it. At the end of the day, if I'm gonna own a 6.7 truck, it's gonna have either the disaster prevention kit or the pump swap kit. I wouldn't be really willing to risk breaking down again by trying to run that truck with a CP4 on it again. It's not worth it. It's too high of a failure rate. And, I dreaded this moment for a long time, breaking down towing. I dreaded it because it's just such an ordeal. You break down in a car an hour from home, 2 hours from home, flatbed at home, it's not the end of the world, might ruin your day. But you break down with a truck across the country, with a trailer, with your prized possessions in it, it's an ordeal. And I dreaded it. And every time we took a trip in the Fummins, I worried about it. And I thought, man, if we break down, it's my fault. It's within my control for us not to break down. If I just ponied up and bought a new truck, we wouldn't have to worry about this. I wouldn't have to worry that we're gonna break down. And if we do break down, it's because I didn't do that. But then I did that, and then we broke down anyway, even though we never broke down fully in the Fummins. So it made me realize that it's more or less out of my control, which is a good thing because I worry about things that are in my control, but if they're out of my control, what's the point in worrying about them? So it's like at this point, I know I've learned firsthand that we can break down in anything. We can break down in a 2020 just as easy or easier than my 2008 Fummins. So, might as well just drive what we want and not worry as much about that. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm still torn on what to get. I still need some input on that. What do you think the ideal tow rig is of the modern day trucks or really anything? What do you think? What would you do to it? I'm pretty torn with it. We might keep the Fummins. It does need a good bit of work to be both, cosmetically, aesthetically, and just functionally dialed. But I believe it can get there, and I believe we could it'd be a good amount of money, but at the end of the day, we'd have a very, very solid truck. Or we can step up to something else and do some upgrades to that. I still am, on the table is a Mega Cab dually Cummins truck, a 4th gen, because I've always wanted a Mega Cab dually, with a stick shift. There's a few options, but let me know what you think. I'd like to hear your opinions. Weigh in and give me some insight. I need it. I need help. I can be indecisive, and I'm torn on this. We are going to be doing some more upgrades to the Fummins, and we're going to be using it before we make any decisions. So we've got some time. We'll see how it is after these other major improvements and then go from there, I guess. But for now, we are out of time. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. But I do want to say thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and that I hope I'll see you next time. Goodbye.